Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to another episode of Strictly Healthy. This is episode 38. And my name is Linda Humphreys. I'm your host today. And of course, the topics that we discuss have to do with health, everything to do with health and everything that impacts on us, on our health. So it could be mental, emotional, physical. We even look at business health because, of course, that impacts on us as well. And today is no exception because we are talking with Erica Duran. I hope I said her surname correctly. And she's with us today. She is a business coach and a business minimalist, but I'll let her explain that a little bit more to us. So welcome, Erica.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. Now, you are based in Florida. Is that correct?
For now.
Yeah. For now. Oh, it sounds like you're moving.
No, we move every 6 months or so. The pandemic had me sticking here for a while, though.
Why? Is it? Are you with the military or something?
Oh no, just it was harder to travel during the pandemic, so we didn't move around quite so much. Okay. And this state has a lot of freedoms that the other states don't have, so I'm going to stay here for a while.
Okay, very good. Right. Well, let's get right into it then. Maybe you could just describe yourself, a little bit about you. You know, how you got started, etc. And just explain to everybody about yourself. Just a brief intro.
Sure. So I was a Fortune 50 corporate executive for about 15 years. And then I just kind of walked out at lunch one day because of so much backstabbing and politics going on there that I didn't like. I didn't know about, well, it wasn't even around. Online businesses weren't even around really back then. So I went for what I knew was more of a time freedom kind of job. So I was a real estate agent. I sold securities, life insurance, mortgages, all kinds of those financial services, because that pretty much was the only way you could make a decent income and have the flexibility. But then when the online business world came around, I pretty much jumped on that by teaching other professional organizers how to get clients online. So that, in a nutshell, is basically what I've been doing the last 10 years, is helping kind of women over 40 that didn't grow up with technology get visibility in the online world and get clients and make money, but not in a scammy make money online way.
Yeah. I find that of great interest, but I'm just curious as to why you decided or went for women over 40. Why especially that group?
Yeah, I was a guest on a few bigger podcasts like Entrepreneur on Fire, and that's who was attracted to work with me, was this niche. And I think it's because I didn't totally grow up with technology, but I was super interested in it. So I was an early adopter. And then I think I'm very good at explaining really complex systems and making it easy for people to understand. So if people are nervous around technology or don't really understand it, I can relate to them and break it down for them better than, let's say, a millennial who's just, grew up with texting and social media. They can't always relate to the middle-aged to older women that are trying to get online.
Okay. Well, all right. That's very good. Now, what are some of the sort of biggest, misconceptions, I guess, about you and about your business?
The biggest misconception, I think, this might be a different answer than we talked about earlier, but I think it's that there's only one way to do something online. Like you listen to one podcast and it tells you to do it this way, and you follow someone on Instagram and they're telling you to do it a different way. And I just always, when I'm on shows like this, try to tell people to take comfort in that everything works. Like, you don't have to worry. Everything works. You just have to pick one so you're not overwhelmed with everything. Yeah. So that's probably the biggest misconception.
Okay. Now, speaking of such, I know everybody jumped on the bandwagon with not chat, Clubhouse. Sorry,
Yeah.
Clubhouse. What are your thoughts on Clubhouse? Everybody's saying you've got to be. People always say you've got to be on this platform. You've got to be on that platform. What about Clubhouse?
Yeah, I think it's a great concept. What I always tell people is to for sure join the platform and get your username so it's the same across all platforms, and put your bio up there just so if someone stumbles upon you, at least they can click over to your website or click over to another platform. I test it out and see if you like it. That's my basic answer, is for sure get your profile and your little like space on the internet carved out, and then see if you like that sort of concept, that sort of networking, I guess you could call it. And also the other thing is to see if your audience is even there before you fully dive into it. So if you are making video games for little boys, you wouldn't advertise on Pinterest. Like, little boys are not on Pinterest.
Yeah,
So
right.
there's a lot of people jump on this, jump on that. Well, I know for a fact my audience is not on Snapchat. They would not even grasp that concept of Snapchat. So I don't spend any time on Snapchat, but I have my username and all in case my niche changes someday, or in case I change or whatever.
And well, speaking of software, because we're talking about that right now, TikTok is another one that people are saying that we need to be there. But I think women over 40 are not, I don't know if it's necessarily their arena, is it?
I don't personally think so. Yeah, I see my colleagues that are over 40 on there, and honestly, I'm like, what are you doing? You're like dancing and pointing. Like, I think you kind of lose credibility doing that kind of style if you are in the professional business coaching, consulting kind of world. Like, not that we're not fun, but it looks like a big waste of time to me, because that's not my niche. And that's, I would feel not that nervousness of a new thing, but the nervousness of this is silly. And I'm feeling like, I'm being forced to be unauthentic on there, because that's not me, that's not my clients, that's not my style. And of course, TikTok has a lot of political issues too that a lot of people don't agree with. So
interesting. Now I didn't know that bit. All right, so let's sort of get into it then, about your what you can share with us about being a minimalist, because I'll tell you, I'm one of these ones that, I've got to flip all over the place. Somebody sends an email, a text message, something comes through on Facebook, whatever. And then I find I've gone down a rabbit hole of watching that video and watching this. And then I haven't completed what I wanted to sort of complete that day, or I'm behind,
Right.
So,
right.
I'm really, really interested to know if you can give us some very good pointers as to how we can become a business minimalist.
Yeah. So for about 5 years, I was I was a certified professional organizer. I was a productivity expert. That was the first thing I kind of did online. I was a productivity expert, and I even did a joint venture with Franklin Covey. If you remember back in the day, there are day planners that they used to sell, the paper day planners we did a joint venture for women entrepreneurs back in the day. So, and then over the years, I've become a hardcore minimalist. So I only have like 2 suitcases and my dogs and a laptop and phone, and that's pretty much it, and a few cooking things, and everything fits in my Jeep, so that's why we travel a lot. And yeah, so it was a long process, because when I was in my 20s, I was very Martha Stewart-ish, if you know what that is. It's very I had different napkins for every holiday, and everything was very organized, but I had a lot of stuff. And so shedding all that over about a 7-year period to get down to this level of minimalism in my life really helped my business. But my business was still kind of fat, if you will, like what you said, with being distracted, and do I do TikTok or Instagram, or do I do all the distractions and bright shiny objects out there. It took me a long time to get over the FOMO, the fear of missing out, of not being on every platform, if any, and adopting more of a minimalist business model. I conquered it in my personal life, and that helps so much with my business too, not to jump around, but to not, like right now, I'm not worried about cleaning anything or taking care of anything. Like everything's just in its place and done, and someone comes to clean once a week, and it's just not in my psyche that I have to take that to the dry cleaner and fold that blanket and put that away and like throw that out. Like there's nothing. I'm constantly editing, so there's nothing that's distracting me really. And same with all my electronic stuff, like email and social messages and things like that. Really being productive and minimal in that too. But adopting it for my business was hard because of the FOMO and the competition and the comparison. If Marie Folio if she blogs and podcasts and has 5 social channels, then I should too. Like it was hard to get away from that. But I was choosing to have not a huge team because I'm more interested in the net of my business, the net income. So I don't want the complexity. I don't want the large team. And I've talked to a lot of the big gurus. A lot of months I will beat them in revenue because I don't have all this extra clutter, if you will, in my business. I don't have a lot of ad spend. I don't have an ads team. I don't have this huge complex team. I mean, I had that in corporate and I was trying to get away from that. Right. So I'm okay if I don't have, the 100K months that everyone has, because I know on the back end, they're only making about 15 to 20K because of all the things they have to spend and do to get, they're not netting that much when all is said and done. And they have this complexity in their life to deal with. So it took me a long time, but I put together, basically a minimalist business model. And that was to support my paid for your presence method, because when I came up with that method, it was still kind of missing a foundation. So just recently, this year, I put together this minimalist business model that I'm taking my clients through now, and it's all customized. There's no cookie cutter way of doing this, but it's all customized. But in the end, you'll probably have about 6 to 8 hours freed up in your day from all the things, all the things you thought you had to do.
But let me just sort of recap. You're saying that one of the things that you suggest is get other people involved in helping you with certain things, day-to-day tasks, so that you're not worried. If you're working from home, you're not worried about looking after household things. So you focus mainly on doing your business. That was sort of
and just not having any clutter in your psyche, because every object, every like little object is like speaking to you, like put me away, clean me, throw me out. Like that has, sew me up. There, every little object in your house is basically giving you a to-do list. Yes. Like even my dog, walk me, feed me, watch me. So everything's talking to you.
What does your day look like from the time you start and sit down at your desk? What exactly do you do?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not at my desk that much. My clients are on Voxer. So a lot of times I'll be walking around the neighborhood or something with Voxering them, the questions and things like that. I maybe spend an hour maybe at the computer if I'm doing an interview like this, or some social media thing, or Zooming with a client. So because they have formal sessions too on Zoom. So I try to I completely got rid of social media for about 8 months.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I deleted everything. I deleted 10 years of content. I deleted 7 podcast shows just to kind of start my brand, and my messaging has changed a little bit. And a lot of the stuff I was teaching on YouTube and all was tutorials that are things that don't even exist anymore. It's just things move on. So I didn't want all this old content clutter, if you will, out there. And there's this whole concept that I realized of a business hobby. Like, I loved making YouTube videos, and I loved making the podcasts and editing them and everything. It was really hard to not do them anymore. But those were business hobbies. They weren't directly bringing in as much money as just coaching does in my business. Some people, the podcast is their whole thing, and that brings in the money. I had cash sponsorships and hotel sponsorships that were fun, but if I just focused on coaching and paid for the hotel myself, it would have been better in the end, without all the editing and headache and everything. And I just thought, there's business hobbies that aren't a direct line to income, and there's real hobbies like hiking and bird watching, and I don't know what you could do, fishing, reading, whatever you're doing. There's real hobbies that make up your life that you'd rather probably spend your time on than sitting on iMovie editing a 3-minute video for an hour. And that's what really hit me, that the 80-20 rule is really no longer, because our lives are so complex right now. The 80-20 rule is not what I would go by anymore. I go by like a 95-5. So that's really.
What would that be?
What's that?
What would that be? 95. How was that split up?
Yeah. So 95-5. So the 80-20 rule, is 80% of your results come from 20% of your effort. So 95-5 is 95% of your results come from 5% of your effort. So for me, it was being on other people's shows. So there's no editing or anything for me. And I get new audiences all the time instead of my same audience just showing up for free content every day. And doing my paid for your presence event every month. Now it's on Evergreen, but back when I made this up, it was every month, once a month live. So those 2 events would fund my business to the income I desired, enough to not do any of the other stuff. So that's what I mean by 95-5. If you can, like, I have one client that just podcasts herself, and that's her whole marketing plan. She doesn't do YouTube or anything else. She just podcasts. So it's different for everyone. Yeah, it's different for everyone. But if you could figure out that one thing that really drives your revenue, and really see and don't have FOMO that you're missing out on the other things that you could give up, then you have all this extra time.
Okay. Now tell me more about what is paid for your presence. What is involved with that then? Can you explain that a little bit more?
Sure. So that concept is along the lines with having a minimalist business model, to only focus on one really well thought out, well planned event or experience or online event, webinar, something that really shows your potential clients who you are and what you're all about and what you can do for them. And then just getting new eyeballs on that presentation, if you will, instead of being everywhere and creating 10 pieces of new content every day. Just get more people to the one conversion mechanism. The event or experience is your conversion mechanism to that event. And then within the first 10 minutes, mine's 2 hours and it's long, but people sit there and watch it. And I tell them in the first 10 minutes, this is going to be about A, B, and C, and this is what I'm like. And so if this isn't with you, if you don't like this, leave. Don't spend 2 hours here. So I just weed out the people really quickly. I don't want to waste their time either. And it's also, the paid for your presence method is about the cutting out the distractions and the shoulds and things like that in your life, because you need to be present with your prospects, your clients. You need to be present on interviews. You need to be present on Zoom, on phone calls. Your presence needs to be with the people right in front of you. So like right now, I'm right in front of you. I'm not worried about the 10 blog posts I didn't write. Like some people would be like thinking about their to-do list while talking to you. And you're not paid for that. You're paid for your energy right now. You're paid for the energy and the vibe you're giving off with whoever you're talking with and with the audience that might be listening in. So it's really about being paid for your presence and not being paid for you being scattered and distracted and stressed and overwhelmed and all that stuff. It's in a nutshell.
Okay. What do you think about doing courses and setting that up in terms of, or do you see, like a lot of people now are doing courses and dispensing their wealth of knowledge in a course? Do you see that as something that should be done, should be set up?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the person. I know that's not a good answer, but I've done about 15 online courses and then I housed them all in a membership site. So you could take each course one by one, or you could join the membership site and get them all. And I kind of like had this need, like I had to do it. I had to get the information out there and packaged up. But really, in my opinion, it's a ton of work. And it's so much easier to sell a one-to-one package of any sort or a group program of any sort than the time it takes to make the program or a course and the ad spend you need to get the numbers to equal the income that you would need from coaching, consulting, expert speaking, stuff like that. You're going to put so much time and effort into the course. And unfortunately, a lot of my clients go for the course anyway. And then they don't do it how I would, where I would pre-sell the course. And then if anyone signed up for that topic, I would make it live with the people that signed up. They make it in a vacuum and then have this big, $20,000 launch, and then nothing sells because they created this course in a vacuum. So if I ever do courses now, they're not in a vacuum. They're not me, on my laptop in a vacuum. They're live. The outline's there, but the course is driven by the people that bought it. Again, that is still way more work, and you don't make as much money as you would just doing one-on-one or done for you or a small group program or something like that. So some people just have to get that course out there though.
Yeah. So would you recommend doing it as a webinar or something like that then? Is that what you mean by doing it live?
Yeah, or just doing it as Facebook Lives or Zoom, a series of Zooms meetings with the group or one-to-one.
Sure.
And then, I mean, since that's already done and recorded, you could sell that. But again, I've just seen so many people spend a lot of time and effort and money and guilt for not getting the course done for years, and then finally getting the course done and then not really selling because they're not willing to either hustle one-to-one to sell it or do the ad spend that requires to sell those types of things.
Okay, very good. So, I mean, what other tips do you have for us in terms of how we can become a minimalist and minimize distractions in our business?
Yeah, I mean, do you want to go over scenarios or just
I wouldn't mind being specific in a scenario. How would you, or what would you like to share in that regard?
Yeah. So again, have, of course, your profile, a robust profile on every platform, but you don't always have to be there if your client's not there. So if your client's not on a LinkedIn, quit creating content for LinkedIn. If your client's not on TikTok, quit, unless you just truly enjoy creating that kind of content. And then the time spent scrolling around and everything or creating little bits of content, if you put all of that into one solid presentation or one or a book even, or something like that, rather than creating the courses and all this other random content. Putting together a useful, solid piece of content would pay off in hours and money. Is email? You said email earlier is a problem.
Well, but, I get distracted by every little thing that comes through the door, emails, whatever. People are sending me stuff on Facebook Messenger and things like that. I get that all the time, which I need to keep up with because of the business and the team I'm in. But how can we go about dealing with something like that?
Yeah, so
we constantly get these messages in.
Yeah, email is a double-edged sword, because it's not actually the time spent on the email that's the problem. It's the competition, comparison, FOMO that comes from following other people's newsletters and stuff. So it's not, and that for social media too. It's the mental health of it more than even the time suck that it is, I think. So I mean, I've unsubscribed from everything, and then I don't send random marketing emails anymore, just because it wasn't in alignment with me. Like, if I'm telling everyone that this is a big waste of time, and why are you wasting everyone else's time? Why am I sending out promotional emails? So I don't really do that too much anymore, unless someone they signed up for the presentation, the Paid for Your Presence event. If they sign up for that, they get the link like that. So it's just like a one-off. So unsubscribing from people that make you feel like you're not doing it right, or you're doing it wrong, or that make you feel inferior in any way, is more of a mental health thing than a time suck thing. Let's see what else there is. I mean, get auto pay on all your bills if you can, so you don't have all that back and forth with your bills on email. Don't sign up for things that are going to cause a bunch of email. And even if you sign up for something, a lot of people don't even look at the free PDF or whatever they've downloaded, and then they get 100 emails after that for this one PDF they never look at. So it's crazy. So I've got my email. I've gone on 3-week trips and not checked my email, because I made it so nothing important comes through email. My clients don't email me. They Voxer me. None of the bills are in there. I unsubscribed from everything, because if I wanted to know something, like I'm an annual pass holder at Disney World. If I want to know something that's going on at Disney World, I'll go when I have the desire to look. I will go look. I don't need them emailing me every day, if that makes sense. Or if I'm subscribed to Pet Chewy, the pet company, they'll email it me every day, and I'll want to buy everything. But if I unsubscribe and I'm like, they need this vitamin, or they need this toy, then I will, myself go get it, instead of them emailing me suggestions all day. Kind of it's like a money mindset kind of thing too, that these marketing coming in is just going to make you buy more.
But I mean, for the majority of people, I know what you're saying about, these newsletters and so on, unsubscribe from stuff. But majority of people, that's how they build their business, or they want to get business. They have to let people know they're out there, and they have to remind them. I mean, even big companies like Coca-Cola and those ones, they've got to advertise, because they want to keep them in the forefront of our minds. So that's the whole purpose of us sending out messages on a regular basis, to remind people that we're there.
Right. And I totally get that.
About that.
Yeah, I totally get that. I understand that. I did it for 15 years, but now we have so many other ways to get in front of people, with, Instagram or YouTube or what have you. If what I noticed is, when people would join my list, they either bought within 2 weeks, or they stayed for the free content forever. So if they didn't have a need and then join my list, I wasn't like convincing them of their need. So to be emailing people free content for 5 years, I mean, they never, like, all of a sudden, in my experience, it's very, very rare that they would all of a sudden 5 years later, oh, I've been following you for 5 years, I'm ready now. Like, that it doesn't happen. People hear me on a podcast and they decide. They come to my event and they decide. If they're not ready at that point, they won't see, the marketing won't speak to them anyway. So it's a time balance. You could spend more time inviting people to your next event that are actively looking for that kind of help, or you can create content for a bunch of freeloaders that never bought anything for 5 years. It's a different kind of client that signs up for your email list that kind of instantly wants to work with you, from what I've seen. And I know everyone else says, grow your list, grow your list, grow your list. But that internet marketing rule came before people were in your Instagram story face every day. Like basically that old school internet marketing rule was before we had any other means to be in front of people.
So I mean, yes, I heard when you said, you come, when they come on your podcast or they come on, your videos and so on, that, either they will sign up or be ready. So do you come then ready with a call to action then?
Yes, at the end of the podcast or the end of the presentation, the event, there's always a next step for them, because I think it's not good in a sales sense, and it's not nice if you're hyping these people up of the possibility and then not giving them the next step. So of course, that whole selling is serving. Yeah, there's always a call to action at the end.
Okay. Well, we got to wrap up, believe it or not. So time's got away on us. Any last sort of parting advice that you'd like to give us?
No, well, thank you for having me. And I know one thing that was in your pre-questions, one thing I know is a big time suck now and really hurting people mentally, physically, all kinds of ways, is listening to mainstream media, news, and other media. So if you want to free up a lot of time and a lot of mental space and not feel like the world's ending, then get off that stuff.
I hear you. I do agree with that, actually. Yes, it really sucks the life out of you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just no good all around it. It's mostly all lies anyway, so.
Okay. Now, on a just lighter note, you said that Walt Disney is a standout person for you. Why is that? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I grew up with Disney. I worked as an executive at Disney for a long time, and in the parks, growing college and stuff like that. And so I was there like every weekend as a kid, and then worked there. And it's I guess his visionary, and he didn't waste time. He went right for what he wanted, no matter what it costs. He went right for it, even though everyone told him it was silly to build a castle in a swamp. It was, he still went for it no matter what. The tenacity of him to go after the author of Mary Poppins for, I don't know, 10, 15 years that he did to get that movie. And then that movie saved the studio. There's just so many stories of his tenacity and things like that.
Oh, great. Well, I certainly didn't know his inside story. So at some point I will hear that from you. But I appreciate your time today. And maybe we can have you back another time to share some further tips.
Yeah, anytime. I love doing this anytime.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you so much for your contribution.
I appreciate that. Bye-bye.
Bye. So that was Erica Duran. She was fantastic in sharing some lovely tips with us about how to minimalize your business or become a minimalist business. Well, she has this minimalist business model. So I thought she shared some excellent tips with us. Of course, next time that we're on again, we're going to be sharing some more information about how we can improve our health and I would love to share some more information about the health product that I use all the time that is really great at helping you from the inside as well as from the outside. So I will share some of that information along with this video as well. So thank you very much for joining me today, and we look forward to catching you at another time. That's on Thursdays at 4 p.m. GMT. Bye for now.